Welcome back. This is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. We all know I work 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday, Wednesday if I have to, and then I have the rest of that time to myself to work on my Jeeps, to list things on eBay, to go to a garage sale, go look at a vehicle, go look at investments, go look at emails, look at comments. I looked at a comment the other day and a commentor said something about he sees all these lawn services in his neighborhood. He said like 5 of them on his street. And it got me to thinking. You're gonna have these services everywhere. It's a large industry. Why? Because it doesn't cost much to get into it. Everybody needs it. The less homeowners that do things, the more that service is needed. Okay. If the homeowners needed rockets to go up to the moon, your competition is going to be less because that costs a lot of money to build rockets and stuff. Anybody can go down to the lawnmower supply store with a credit score of 600 and something and finance $10,000 worth of really prime equipment and get started in the lawn business. I don't recommend anybody doing that because I've seen lots of companies start off with the best and top of the line equipment and they put themselves in debt. I had a guy that was mowing lawns in one of the country clubs I was in. He had the lawn next to me and he thought he had arrived. He pulls up in his fancy truck, his fancy trailer, his fancy lettering, his brand new equipment. And I went, oh, that's nice stuff. I like that. I wish I could have nice stuff too, Well, at that time of my life, I could have new equipment. I could have new trailers. I could have all that stuff. So I watched him work in the yard. He did not know what he was doing. Okay. He didn't figure out how to do what he was doing first before he went out and bought everything. Okay. And then one day, a couple weeks had gone by, maybe a month or so, and he walked around like, I'm a business owner and stuff, and I got to know him a little bit, and I told him, you're doing it wrong. He didn't care. He didn't want to hear he was doing it wrong or anything. And then one day I just walked up, grabbed the edger from him. I'm like, you do it like this. I showed him how to save time. I showed him how to do it right. I don't think he cared. Well, less than 6 or 7 months goes by. He's out of business. He came up to me. He's like, I can't pay my bills. I don't know what's going on. I'm losing customers. There's a lot of reasons why the competition disappears. A lot of reasons. They retire. They're not running their business right. Their business is drowning in debt. When you're in this business, you have to have different types of customers. You have to have some big customer accounts. You have to have some small customer accounts. You have to have some cash customer accounts. It's all part of the dough. And you mix it in and you rely on each part of the dough at any particular time during the week or year, month, whatever, all right? So I have an account I may lose, but I've got other things that I can rely on until I decide if I want to go after another big account or not, So I'm in the driver's seat. That guy wasn't in the driver's seat, He ended up calling me like a year and a half later. He wanted to go to work for me. I watched how he worked and how he ran his show and how he acted and all that. I didn't want nothing to do with the guy. I'm a bleeding heart, but come on. Having him around's not good for my thinking, my business, etc. The guy that said he saw all the trucks, I felt like maybe he was coming from a point of view where it's discouraging to see that kind of stuff. I used to work in a radius of a little over 30 miles, maybe 40 miles away from my house. The rule of thumb was about how far could I go in 45 minutes. Now remember, there's 24 hours in a day to become successful, all right? I would start off with a 30-mile radius. Now, I did another video on how to get customers, okay? So if you're calling different property management companies and stuff, there's a good chance that they're going to have a house here, 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 and eventually you're going to turn that into a route. Once you turn that into a route, then you can quit your job that you're doing. It gives you a way to pull that parachute cord, and you can now step into a life of as a business owner. In my situation, I didn't have another job. Okay, I had quit the lawn care job I had. Okay, and I clicked my heels, and then I said in another video, I turned around and I walked down the driveway. It's 7-something in the morning, got my Ford Explorer and drove off into the sunrise. Okay, I made the mistake of looking at the competition. Wow, that guy's got 700 mowers and 20 guys, you know. I'm never gonna get that big, you know. You don't cut a tree down with one swing. You chip at it and you chip at it and you chip at it, and the tree will fall eventually. Same with building a business. You work at it and you chip away at it, you're gonna get something. If you even just have one account, you're in business, you're a businessman. Okay? Ask that person if they know anybody that needs anything. They say yes and get you a customer, you make them some chicken wings. They'll never forget that. I made a customer a hot dog once. I put chili on it. She talks about that hot dog every time I see her. I changed her life, okay? I embedded my lawn service into her brain, you know? Get Russ a customer, he'll make a hot dog for you, okay? Who gives a beep, dee beep? How many trucks are in your neighborhood and how many employees they got? We don't know any of the situations. Maybe that one customer in your neighborhood's going to fire that guy and sees your service business parked down the street. I didn't set out to get any of these people in my neighborhood as customers. Okay. Over the last 5 years, I've taken care of everybody's house in this neighborhood. I can drive up the street. I did this. That's over 10 to 50. I never even added it up. Probably $15,000 a year, and I don't even have to drive more than 5 minutes away from my house. It's bad for my mileage on my truck because it's a write-off. You get so much a mile, you know. But that helped me step back and reduce the amount of time out in the field, because now I can do more in less time and I can get home at noon. All right, I planned that. I said, hey, this is working here. I can work in my neighborhood, which is rule number 1. Don't do it. If you're just starting out, don't work in your neighborhood. All right, these people will drive you nuts. I don't care if they drive me nuts. All right, there's a guy up the street. I'm not going to work for him anymore, and he doesn't know it. There's another lady up the road over there. I may not work for her anymore either. You know, I want to be treated good. I want to have people. I want to be respected. Okay, if you don't respect me, you don't treat me good. You know, at this point in my life, I don't need them to pay my bills. Okay. Stop putting walls up between you and what you want to do. All right. Oh, that's too hard, or I'm not going to be able to afford that mower. And how do you know? You sit down on the floor, you take your money and you dump it out, and you figure out what you need, and then what you don't have, you figure out how to get it. That's what I did, you know. If you want something bad enough, you're going to do it. Competition's everywhere. Watch how they run their crews. See how they're operating. Let them entertain you, okay? I'm not the same company as that company. I can guarantee you that. I do things differently. I run my company different, all right? right now it's starting to get warm out, and all these companies are advertising on Facebook Marketplace. Need your long cut, call me. You know, you get one call, somebody might hire you. You know, it's rare. It's such a competition. And these guys, I've noticed, the guys that tried last year aren't around this year. Because they didn't see one of my videos. If they had seen my video, they would be making the phone calls. They would be doing the steps that I use to create this business, okay? It's just not gonna fall in your lap. A business isn't gonna just knock on your door and say, here I am, all right? It's rare. I had that happen to me, all right? Aluminum guy knocked on my door, all right? But it's rare. It's like being struck by lightning. Don't count on it happening, all right? Now you can increase your odds by going out and standing on a fairway with golf clubs and pointing them up in the air. You get struck by lightning, you know. 30-mile radius. These guys probably won't go 15, 20 miles. You don't know. You know, maybe they only work 3 hours a day. Who knows? I know that when I'm in a neighborhood and I see every other house has a different company, I'm eventually going to get some of those accounts. I just know it, and it happens. They're going to be unhappy with so-and-so. So-and-so can't do it no more. His employees quit. Equipment issues, you know. Don't worry about the competition. Unless you want to entertain yourself while you're out in the field. Entertain yourself. Hey, look at this guy. He's not even working that hard, and this guy's running, and the owner's freaked out. Or you're going to see a well-oiled machine and go, hey, I want to mimic what he's doing, and I want that type of company for myself, where everybody's moving and grooving, and they're getting in and they're getting out. You know. When you put a wall up between what you want to do, you do it slow. 1 brick, 2 bricks, 3 bricks. I don't have the credit. I don't have the resources. I don't have the customers. I don't have this. I don't have that. Next thing you know, you got this wall you can't even see over, and you can't even climb over. You know, we're human beings. We fall trapped to some of those thinkings. You know. You can do and make anything happen that you want. I'm living proof of it, okay? I have friends that are living proof of it, you know? I make good money doing this. I have friends that are worth more than me and have more money than me, you know? I'm not gonna go to a restaurant and go, I'm rich, I wanna pay 10 times more than what this meal costs. I mean, rich people, there's only certain amount of things they can do, and the people with a little money, the same thing. Only a certain amount of things we can do. I'm not going to Paris every other week, you know. I'm not getting in my jet every other week. Most rich people that I've given any of my attention to, you know, their jet sits most of the time. You know, I got a meeting across the United States. Their jet sits. Why? It's expensive to get in that jet and go over there, all right? I had a helicopter. I'm not getting in it every 5 minutes. And Grant Cardone has a helicopter. He wanted a helicopter. How often is he in his helicopter? I don't know. But I can tell you it's not every darn day, all right? Rich people, poor people, middle class, we all do the same things. We all want the same stuff. We want housing, clothes, and food, all right? That's it, you know. If a rich person like, say, Grant Cardone came to stay in my house, I don't think he'd be comfortable. He wouldn't like my house, all right? Too small. You know, there's not a gated guard at the end of the street. You know, I mean, you get used to things. You know, you're a product of your surroundings, your community. You're a product of, you know, he's no longer a product of this type of lifestyle, all right? I want to be and continue to be a product of this lifestyle, okay? people die all the time, you know. One of the most successful businessmen on the planet that dressed worse than I did, he just passed away. You know, Phil Robinson. All right. The guy's worth maybe $100 million. You know, did he blow through all that money in his life? No. He lived in a mobile home. He had like 10 acres. He had side-by-sides, bows and arrows, guns, whatever, you know, whatever made him happy. You know, I don't even know if he liked wearing shoes all the time. And he had his favorite chair. He had a couple dogs, you know. It's incomprehensible to think that we all are going to become multimillionaires, okay? Like these influencers on YouTube say, you know, most of the time they're doing a lot of this so that you'll buy their book or you'll buy this and that, you know. And if you interview them, yeah, you can pump somebody up and maybe they'll go from here to here, you know, maybe from here to here to there. But it's reality. I'm not saying that it's not possible. All right. There are a ton of rich people and wealthy people everywhere. They're just everywhere. All right. My goal is not to be a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. All right. Because I know that I don't want to work that hard for it. Let's just put it that way. I do not want to work that hard. All right. Anymore. All right. I decided I didn't want to be a multi-millionaire. Okay. I could have, you know, but the toll it would have taken on me, you know, versus trying to obtain that outcome, I didn't want it, you know. I got some grassroots, good old-fashioned buddies for friends, and I don't want, you know, country club lifestyles. I don't want gated communities, HOAs, you know. I have some goals left, and some of those goals require money, you know. And I'm 52 and a half. I'm going to reach those goals, all right? Why? Because I said I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, all right? I think it's going to probably take me 5 years to do it, all right? But I'm going to do it. Being wealthy doesn't mean having millions and millions and millions of dollars. Being wealthy is doing what you want to do. Wealthy people want to help others, okay? I've known a lot of rich people that wouldn't stop to give you a drink of water, all right, as they're driving through the desert and they see you on the side of the road, okay? Wealthy people will stop and help you, okay? And you'll go, oh, wow, is this guy rich? I don't know, I can't tell. You know, he's dressed like one of us, you know? I can always point rich people out, okay? They stand out. And if you're rich, great, you know, and you're a rich, nice person or whatever, maybe you need to reclassify yourself, you know. I can always tell who those people are. A lot of them are posers. They're pretending. They got the nice shoes, they got the nice clothes, they got gel in their hair, they're all spit polished and stuff. If I asked them, you know, hey, what's your net worth? You know, what's your portfolio look like? You know what I'm saying? I bet you they're all in debt up to here, you know. And a lot of people use their debt and leverage their debt to add more debt to their life. I don't want any debt. I'm not going to go pull out an equity line of credit or leverage my house to go buy another one and be a landlord. I'm not interested in that. I've been around enough landlords and enough friends of mine were landlords to where I'm like, I don't want to deal with this nonsense, all right? Yeah, on paper you're worth $500 million, you know, and after you sell everything, it's like the example of the business. Do I want a big business or a little business? You know, at the end of the day, what are you going to colander out from all of that? All right? What I'm worth is going to be almost equivalent to what they would be worth if they sold everything and paid off all their debt. Okay? So figure out what you want to do, write your goals down, ignore the competition. You're not their competition. They're not worried about you. They're not going, oh, that guy over there is thinking about starting the same business. Ooh. Oh no, we better start worrying. Stop putting up cinder blocks and creating this massive wall for you. You'll never do anything. I didn't feel like making this video, but you know what? I felt like I needed to do it, and I had to do it, and I wanted to respond to this guy who said he saw all these lawn services out in the neighborhood. That's a good thing. You know why? The economy's good. People are spending money. People are buying services. That's a great time to get into business when people are using these services. These neighborhoods where they have the same house after the same house after the same house after the same house. They all bought the house at a different time. They all needed a service at a different time. So you're going to get 20 different service fee companies in that neighborhood. They didn't all move in at the same time and said, we're going to use Rob's pest control. So ignore the competition. Don't put any balls up. All right? Anything's possible. All right? I'm an example of that. All right? I turned $150 into a pretty nice little thing. And you can too. All right? And if lawn care ain't your thing, find another service business that is in your budget or something you'd be interested in doing. If you love what you do and like what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I wish I could play baseball for like say the Yankees or something, or anybody. Shoot, I had friends that said they'd play for free. One of my friends, he did play for free. He took advantage of it. You can do anything you want. Just put this thinker to work. Draw a roadmap. Make a plan. I did it, and you can too. All right. So this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff. And if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe. If you're just passing through, help a guy out, grow his channel, and subscribe and like. I'd appreciate it. And you guys have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one.